Hey everybody, welcome back to another Bad Batch reaction here on the Canon Collector channel. We are going to be diving into episode 11 today of season 1 of the Bad Batch. Let's go check out what sort of description and stuff we got in store for us. Here we go, Devil's Deal. As the seeds of rebellion foment. I should read these before I do this. As the seeds of rebellion foment. Okay, well, now I actually have to look up how to say that word. Why you give me complicated words? And this is a kid's show. Foment. I was right. I'm great. You know what we should do too? I looked up the pronunciation. Let's actually look up. What does it even mean? Instigate or stir up. As the seeds of rebellion foment an outer rim world, the Empire schemes to squash it. So there's conflict on an outer rim world. A rebellion is gonna get going, and the Empire wants to squash it. So checking out our thumbnail, we just see the Batch. We don't see Omega. We don't see Crosshair. So, and I can't tell if there's anybody else sort of hidden away there. Doesn't look like it. So I am guessing, based on the ending of last week's episode, that Omega will be with them. I am assuming that she won that little deal that she had with Hunter, where she is not going to be left behind on any missions anymore. But our thumbnail really doesn't tell us that. All we see is the Batch themselves, but it does look like they're in mission ready mode. So I'm expecting some action in this, but Seeds of Rebellion could be anything. Could be Trace and Rafa, could be Rex, could be Saw Gerrera. I kind of feel like this might be Saw Gerrera because Saw really seemed, and I mean, it's not like we had too much canon on this yet. Like, there's not a whole lot in this time period. There's Rebels, Jedi Fallen Order, there's Rogue One, and that's kind of the majority of the canon that we've seen from this era of Star Wars. And it really feels like the Empire really is out for Saw. And I mean, we've seen this before. Saw was a big target for them. They had their suspicions of Leia and some other people who are involved within the rebellion that we know from the saga films. But Saw seemed to be the one they knew about the most, or the one that they were sort of after fairly often. So I can see that continuing here. I mean, we definitely saw that within the first few episodes of the Bad Batch. The Empire knew what was up, wanted him taken out. So if Saw rolled into the show, not a shock, and definitely here for it. I felt like Saw was definitely going to return at some point. It felt like a lot of work to create that character model for just a brief cameo. That's why I'm assuming guys like Rex will be back. A lot of characters who are showing up in this show, I feel like, are going to be recurring characters. I don't feel like these will be the last times we see a lot of them. Going through that process of creating character models and doing stuff like that, seems like they're going to want to reuse those assets. So looking at it from a production sort of technical standpoint, but looking at it from a story standpoint, it would make sense for us to be introduced to somebody like Saw way at the beginning and then have him come back around somewhere towards the end of the show, because I don't feel like necessarily he will be a big part of the finale, but these next few episodes, I could see that definitely being a thing. No confirmation, though, until we click this episode and we actually start watching it. So really, what I'm looking for in this week's episode is just not more of these Sid jobs. I want to move away from Sid and having that be sort of the format of the next few episodes, because it just doesn't feel right. We can't do jobs for Sid right now. We definitely need to be moving on and moving away. Our debts are cleared at this point with Sid, so the Batch don't owe Sid anything. They can take off and leave, and I think that that's a smart move. And I kind of went over what my theories, predictions, or what I would do for this episode in last week's reaction. So I feel like that's the best way to move on, but this description, this title, says a little different. Definitely doesn't go with that whole bounty hunter thing I was thinking that we could do for the next couple episodes, and that's cool because just the mere mention of Empire gets me excited. We saw a little bit more Empire last week, and I am so cool with just exploring what the Empire is doing right now and what the control over the galaxy looks like. If we're spending the next few episodes doing that, I'm super excited, even if it has very little to do with the overall plot or even the overall episode. Just give me a snippet of what, you know, sort of wrongdoings the Empire is up to, and then just get on with whatever Bad Batch mission there is. Give me like a 5-minute opening scene of just the Empire being awful and taking over different worlds and, you know, different systems, and I'm fine. I'm fine with that. That's totally okay with me. But we'll see where they're going with all of this. Getting seeds of rebellion definitely intrigues me. Not just from the fact that I feel like we're going to see some characters we've already seen before, or we're going to be seeing characters that we haven't seen in this series yet, but we as Star Wars fans know. So excited for the potential there. I like seeing the rebellion forming while the Empire is growing. This is a cool time period to be in. It could go 100 ways, but they continue to surprise us, so I'm not holding too hard and fast to any of this sort of guessing game that I'm playing before we hop into each one of these episodes. So we'll see. Whatever. Let's stop talking. Let's stop guessing, and let's just dive in and actually watch this thing. I sit here and I guess for like an hour what this episode could be, where the rest of the show is coming, when I could literally just click on this thumbnail and watch episode 11, Devil's Deal. Another beautiful looking oh my god. Start every one of these episodes like this. This is crazy. Ooh, and it's them. Oh man, are we gonna see like Cham Syndulla and stuff?
He's most welcome. Wouldn't you agree, Syndulla?
I will always support that which helps Ryloth.
And what about you, General?
Looks just like her daughter.
Your wife's outlook?
Have we seen her before? I can't remember.
Fighting, peace is what is needed.
And with peace comes prosperity.
Ryloth is safe, Cham. This is what you fought for.
Yes, it is.
Interesting.
Thanks to the generosity of the Galactic Empire, our new refinery will bring stability and growth to Ryloth once again.
The clone army came to our aid. We would not be here today if it wasn't for them. The war has ended. Let us lay down our weapons and focus on Ryloth's future.
Inspiring, but yeah, the people ain't wrong. You see through it, Cham. You get it, Mr. Syndulla.
What a shame your daughter is not here to share in this.
Hey, Hera.
Hera has other interests.
Yeah. Hell yeah. If we see Hera, oh man, I'll be pumped. That's sick. Woo! Yeah, I didn't really expect that. This is perfect. I like getting the Syndullas. This is perfect.
Let me take a look.
Oh my god, and oh no way.
I don't know, Chop. Nothing looks out of the ordinary.
Are you kidding me?
Mining facility. I overheard Father say this is only the first location.
This is awesome. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Chopper's my favorite. This is awesome. Oh, that's so good.
Chopper.
We know you're all right. I've seen the future. I know you're gonna be fine, so I'm not that worried.
I won't report this, but it can't happen again.
I assure you it won't. Thank you, Hauser.
You're in trouble.
Out there?
I already told you.
I sent her.
The Imperial refinery is off limits, Hera. You know that.
I never said we were at the refinery.
Now then, tell me what you saw. Leave nothing out.
That is unacceptable.
We've been friends a long time, Cham. I'm telling you, the Imperials are up to something. You just don't want to see it.
Yeah, they ain't doing kosher stuff, man.
If we need to fight, I am as capable as anyone.
That fiery spirit. You remind me of myself at your age. But I want more for you, Hera. Fighting. It takes a toll. My hope is that you won't ever have to live a life like mine.
Well, she kind of does. I just realized, like, we haven't seen, other than Crosshair, we haven't seen the Batch in, like, a while in this episode. And if we don't even see him, I'm not even that mad. Not mad. This is great.
Still, I think I should stay here.
All right, but I was going to let you fly this time.
Oh!
Really? Chop, cover for me! Wait!
Oh, Chopper. Ooh, something bad's gonna happen to Chop. Maybe, I thought Crosshair was gonna take Chop out or try to.
And he's not alone.
Again, not too worried for Hera or Chop, because we know how their story goes.
What supplies are we here to get?
Weapons?
Oh. I get it. I see what we're doing here.
Are you Gobi? Sid sent us.
So Sid's still sending us on missions. Okay. I don't know how I feel about that, but I trust you. Trust you guys. This episode has been fantastic so far.
Hunter, can she come aboard? Okay, you can come up.
Do you fly?
No, Tech won't let me train until I can recite all of the ship's specifications from memory.
Specs are only half of it. Flying is... it's about a feeling. The instruments help guide you, but you plot your course. You're free.
So you're a pilot?
No, not yet. But one day...
Come on.
You will
I'll show
be,
you
Hera.
my favorite part of the ship.
You get to live on a starship? That's my dream.
Well, technically it's our
You'll
gunner's mount,
live
but
it
when we are not getting chased or shot at,
I don't know how fun it
it's
is.
smart. Good luck.
One day you're gonna meet a Jedi who thought we were gonna kill him. See ya,
That
Hera.
was strange. I like her. Did you know flying's about a feeling?
If this is all we saw the Batch, I'd be fine. I wouldn't even be mad if we just continue on this whole Hera in the Syndulla clan stuff.
We've got an Imperial ship approaching.
Uh-oh. Oh, man. Oh, man. I just get a bad feeling somebody's gonna die in this episode. Well, this surely is just not good.
Miss Syndulla, I find your involvement in such matters to be most distressing.
Cham's behind this. She's the proof.
And the fact remains, Cham has not committed a crime. Yet. But this Syndulla has.
So she's only a child.
She is an insurgent. Take them away.
Did that trooper, like, did he go through the Order 66 stuff? It seems they've been playing all of the Order 66 clones very harsh. And he's been played very, very light.
We have to close
Oh,
exit
blurgs.
Chopper, let's go!
Chopper. Oh, Chopper. I missed you, buddy.
The convoy's been targeted.
It's Syndulla. I knew it. What are you waiting for? Attack!
Yes,
He's
sir.
not gonna do it. Got him.
Tell them we surrender.
Surrender? What are you doing?
Keeping us alive, Senator.
Smart move. Smart move.
How dare you attack our convoy? You are all traitors!
You threaten my daughter and accuse her of treason? For years, I've watched you put your greed and self-interests above Ryloth.
Do something!
He's the one holding the blaster.
Cham, stop and think about what you're doing.
Ooh, Crosshair.
It's time.
Thank you for playing your part, Senator.
Oh! I knew somebody was gonna eat it. Oh, man. Yeah, okay. Not mad about that. Probably your time, boy. Probably your time. So she go on the run just like Canon? God, I gotta read that book. That probably goes over a lot of her history. But maybe it's completely retconned right now.
The Syndulla girl won't get far. Have our forces find her.
Okay. Yeah, like, yeah. Very little Bad Batch in this one. Very, very little Bad Batch. But, not mad. Even in the slightest. That was big. That was good. Absolutely loved that episode. And not even remotely upset that the Batch, like, appear for a brief scene and then that's it. Like, that is totally okay by me. And if you're gonna do the Sid stuff like that, maybe I'm okay with it, just because it would really suck to be kind of in that Sid sort of world the way it was before the midpoint of the show, and really feel the tension and the pressure of, like, we should be more worried than we are, but we're just doing jobs for Sid. Like, that is what I wanted to avoid. I don't want to feel that, like, that stress of the Empire's after us, like, we got bounty hunters after Omega, like, this is a big deal, but we're just gonna do some jobs for Sid. So, like, that's weird. If you do it like this, I guess that's okay. I really feel like they had an opportunity to go in a different direction here, and they went with this, and I'm a little confused, but also not. Like, the show is called The Bad Batch, so you do expect that it would be more Bad Batch heavy. Now, I'm totally fine that we're getting some other potentially main characters in this series, in this show, and I'm happy to be getting more of the Empire stuff, but it does feel slightly weird. But I think they're setting up for something. The way that this episode ended, there's no way to me that we're not going to be doing another episode. Like, next week absolutely has to be a continuation of this. And if next week isn't, then the week after absolutely has to be. And the only way that would work is if you're going to go have the next episode be all with the Bad Batch kind of in a simultaneous sort of a place, and then meeting up with Hera again and potentially rescuing her in, you know, an episode after the next one. But I really think that the Batch probably is on their way to rescue Hera or do something to stop the Empire on Ryloth. It just seems to make sense. If not, though, I could honestly care less. And I don't know if it's like because it feels, I don't want to call it fan service. I'm feeling very rewarded as a Star Wars animation fan, as a big Star Wars fan in general. And that's why I'm okay with going on this mission with, you know, or going on a journey with Hera and Chopper and the Syndullas. Would I feel differently if this was just a completely new character? Probably. I kind of think so. So I wonder, for the people who are not familiar with other aspects of canon and Rebels and, you know, Star Wars in general, maybe this is your first show, or maybe you've just seen the saga films, or maybe you're just a Clone Wars watcher. How do you feel about this? You know, if that is you, let me know in the comments how you feel about having a fully sort of Hera and Chopper sort of an episode. I'm all here for it, though. That's, you know, I am not new, so this is working probably exactly how they want it to work, and oh boy, am I happy and excited. I am such a huge Chopper fan, so it's just like, was so good. It's so fun to see Chop again. Loved hearing some of that Rebels music coming back there. Just so happy to get more of that. Are we gonna get more Rebels cast members? I mean, we've gotten Caleb, we've gotten Kanan, right? We got Hera. We got Chop. All we're missing is Ezra and Sabine. And, you know, some of the other, and Zeb. Ooh, Zeb. We could actually maybe see Zeb. Maybe even Callus. We could probably see Callus. Maybe he's a young, hot shot, up and coming dude here. That would be interesting because we're not gonna see Ezra, at least not anytime soon. Are we gonna see Sabine? Probably not. So it's very unlikely we're gonna see them. But I could see Lothal being mentioned. I could see maybe some more Mandalore stuff coming into play. Especially if we're going to be exploring more Omega and Boba Fett stuff. Mandalore is probably a safe bet, but at the same time, given everything that's going on with The Mandalorian, they might be saving a lot of that information for that show. So we might actually not see too much Mandalore. The Siege of Mandalore might be as far as we get, and then it might be pretty dark, you know, as far, like, not tonally dark, but like there's going to be no information until probably The Mandalorian fleshes out more of the background of Mandalore, and then we might start seeing it pop back up in these other forms of animation and other media. But I'm all for seeing more Rebels cast. Bring it on. It's really cool to see the Clone Wars get mixed with Rebels, and I love that it's almost in this like separate sequel series, which is acting kind of like a prequel series to Rebels. And like, I think that that's more of maybe what this show is at the end of the day. That it is a sequel to the Clone Wars, but maybe a prequel to Rebels. That's what this episode kind of tells me. And again, like the same thing with some of these other characters that we're making these character models. We think that they're probably going to stick around. And I let the Caleb Doom, the Kanan Jarrus kind of thing go because it felt like a big, like, yep, like this is a big first episode moment. Here we go. But now I'm kind of thinking maybe we will see him again, right? You made the character model, you have him. Might as well, although depending on when they might get to something like that, which might be a few seasons down the road, you're probably going to have to change the character model again because he's going to age and probably not look exactly the same, or you're going to want to do some different stuff to it. So you might have to completely redesign that whole character model, so may or may not make sense. I don't know if he's coming back, but this just is showing me more that I feel like we're getting a bridge between the Clone Wars and Rebels. I love that. I think that that is the best thing that I didn't realize maybe the show would be giving us. Now, I'm not totally saying that, like, that's what this whole show is going to be, but given some clues, right, between obviously seeing the cast members of Rebels, now getting some meaty stuff with Hera. And like I've said, I don't think that this is the end of this little arc. I think we're going on a little Hera Syndulla story arc here. The Batch might have to come in here to do some helping, but I think we're going to get a lot more information. You can't just leave it like that and say that that's the end of that and we're going to move on, because it doesn't tie in so nicely to what we know in Rebels, at least. So you're probably going to retouch this. I could be wrong, though. We could be getting something else, but I will be a little mad because kind of left us on a cliffhanger here. So definitely resolve it within the show. You got a lot of this transition from Empire to, you know, or the Republic to the Empire, the clone troopers to the stormtroopers. I'm just like, wow, there's some stuff in here I wasn't totally expecting. I expected a transitional period. I expected to see some of this other stuff. Some things revolved around clones, but I definitely didn't expect a lot of rebellion things, you know. So you got Hera, you got Chopper, you got Kanan, you got a lot of the Rebel stuff going on here. And then, you know, we also have things like Saw, Gerrera being introduced here. We have Rex and some stuff going on there where it sounds like he's helping the rebellion. All we're really waiting on is Ahsoka, and to see maybe a little more stuff of what she's doing and how she's helping build the rebellion in secret. We get Mon Mothma or somebody else at some point, which I feel like Mon Mothma is probably a sure thing at some point in this series if we're going multiple seasons. I don't know, maybe if we see her at the end of this season, but at some point I feel like it's definitely a possibility if we're going to be going more down this rebellion route, which I think is very, very, very smart for them to do. Show the Empire growing, show the rebellion going, make it a sequel to the Clone Wars and a prequel to Rebels. And that's the majority of what this episode I feel like was. It was that adding a new element and adding a new layer, and watching this episode felt better than maybe I originally thought, where it felt like we were going to be going on a completely new thing and opening up another avenue to go down in the show, which I said I wasn't mad about if we did that, but I'm starting to get a feeling that this is closer tied to the Trace and Rafa and Rex sort of stuff going on, along with Saw Gerrera. We've had enough rebellion members now kind of introduced and had little things here that, okay, I think I see what you're doing. And that is a whole element of the show that like we weren't necessarily thinking of. So we're watching the Empire grow. We're watching the Empire take over the galaxy. We're watching the rebellion grow as well. And we're seeing them in very, very early stages and how they're forming and sort of the uprising there. And so these two things are kind of pulling in different directions. And what do you have left? You kind of have the clones in the middle. And more or less the Bad Batch right now is being positioned that way, where it's like, what do you do? Where do you go? How does this work for the clones? And seeing the clones starting to get pushed out by stormtroopers and Project Warhammer and all of this other sort of Empire, movement forward. What happens to the clones, and at the same time, what happens to the Kaminoans, and what are they going to do? Because this was a big part of their livelihood. Are the Empire going to take over, like we talked about before? Are we going to see that transition from a Kaminoan, run cloning facilities to the Empire just swooping in and taking it for themselves? You got clone troopers and the Kaminoans just kind of caught in the middle of this whole thing and just trying to figure it out, right? And we only really see, and we're only really living the clone trooper side of stuff through the Bad Batch. And I think we're going to be seeing a little bit more with that other clone trooper that we met today, the Syndulla sort of, head clone trooper. They dressed him differently. They showed his face a lot. And he definitely had compassion, other than and that's unlike a lot of the other clone troopers that we've seen who have been Order 66. They have a very different personality, very cold. We're not showing their face anymore, and that was a thing that they used in season 7 of the Clone Wars, where you just saw Rex's face more or less, and a lot of the other clones were all masked up in their helmets. So this means something to me. I think that there's other clones out there who maybe didn't get hit, or maybe did. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to play out that one. If the chip is real, if it's not, or if the chip is in some of these troopers, if it's not in some of these troopers, if it malfunctioned, if they're able to resist, or if this is just, we're not dealing with the Jedi, so I'm cool. I don't know how that works. Could be something to do with the different generations of clones. Who knows? It would be cool if there was a whole defective batch that they didn't know about, right? That totally didn't have working chips in there, and they're running about kind of very confused. So somewhat to what the batch was, right? That is kind of what the batch is, but we have an explanation for it. So I think it would be cooler if the Kaminoans had to do a recall on a bunch of clones or something. And you can't really admit that at this point, right? You just kind of have to let it go, especially because Order 66 is definitely done with at this point. So kind of doesn't make sense to do that. You can kind of just reprimand them or take care of them in whatever way the Empire sees fit. So Kaminoans would probably be best to just zip the lip. But it would be cool if we saw little discussions behind the scenes about that. Wow. I am very, very happy with this episode. Something completely different, and I kind of think that's what was needed. And that's why I didn't want the batch to be following sort of the same old thing that they were doing before. This was a beautiful break, but it also still gave them the ability to continuing to be doing things with Sid. We're just not watching it at this point, and that makes me feel better because, like I said, there's just a weird tension about that where that they're you got to be going on the run. You got to get to safety, but we're doing jobs for Sid. But then at the same time, you look at it and you're like, well, what else are you going to do? Like, what, you going to hide somewhere on a moon and just lay down and be done? Like, no, you got to do something. You got to make some money. You got to, people are after you. I guess you might as well try to do work. And as long as you keep working, I guess you're moving around a lot. So maybe they can't find you and locate you. But at the same time, all it's going to take is one bounty hunter to really torture Sid. And I feel like some info's going to be let loose. But she has bonded with the Batch more and more and more. So I trust her. Every episode that we get more Sid stuff, I start to trust her. So I don't feel like maybe she would willingly give up. I don't feel like she's calling the Empire at this point and is going to let them know where the Batch is. Like, she definitely cares more than that, and they're valuable to her. So, you know, I don't think she's going to do anything to screw that up. But when push comes to shove, who knows what's going to happen, you know? And I definitely think that that might be a play at some point in time. Maybe we get that next episode and then they come back to help the Syndulas and Ryloth. Or we don't see them. And next episode is just a Ryloth thing. Because it has to be. Because if it's not an episode surrounding Hera and the Syndulas and Ryloth, I am going to be upset. Just because that feels weird. Like, you really left us on a cliffhanger. Don't be playing that game too much, you know. I need you to resolve that. Even if it is in other parts of canon. If there's something I missed and that story dovetails beautifully with something else, you gotta, for the sake of this show, you have to like dovetail that somehow, show the events and take the overall episode in a different direction. Like, you don't have to spend too much time on it, but the Batch should come back, kind of witness, you know, what happens and then move on from there if you're not gonna continue to do something. So we really didn't get much movement on Omega, although having Hera explain to her what flying is like, I feel like we're gonna see Omega fly soon. But I also feel like that was a weird, subtle sort of Force reference. If these Force rumors are true, we haven't got too much movement on any of that sort of aspect of the, you know, we haven't gotten too much movement on that. So the jury's still out. She could absolutely still be Force sensitive, but we haven't seen much from it. But having that little sort of speech from Hera in the feeling and a lot about that, I feel like Omega is going to be taking that into consideration more so than just flying. I definitely think it's setting up Omega is going to do some crazy fly stuff somewhere in this season, but I also feel like she's going to take that and have it mean more than flying, and I think that that's going to connect her to the Force. Now, does Hera have connections to the Force? Like, you know, is she Force sensitive? It's not something that we've touched on. It definitely is probably not a thing that she has, but the Force guides and wills in its own way, right? And we know that she plays a big part within the Force's plan, I guess, or at least other Force users and other people who are close to the Force. So there's definitely some link there. So is the Force working through her to give Omega more guidance? Could just be a cool thing to set up some flying stuff, or could be just a way to set up, you know, Hera's wisdom and how much of a badass she is, you know, and what we're going to see from her in the future of this timeline. Tons of cool stuff in this episode. Definitely a lot of cool references and little canon nods. Nothing super, super big, but I love seeing what we're seeing right now. And it makes a lot of sense to where we kind of see Ryloth, you know, within Rebels and in the future of Star Wars. So I love getting some of this background, a prequel to a lot of what we've seen in the future, and a sequel to what we've seen before. This is absolutely a perfect middle chapter, and I appreciate them doing this regardless of how much the Batch is actually involved within this little story arc. Absolutely stoked with this week's episode. A big chunk now for me to go back and rewatch, and oh boy am I gonna. And I'm feeling like diving into some Rebels right now too, so go check out Rebels, go rewatch this episode as well as the rest of the Bad Batch, and then go check out some of the Clone Wars stuff too with the Syndulas. I think those are all going to be pretty important going forward, or at least having in mind for yourself or for the story. Anyway, guys, I love this episode, and I hope you did too, because I think they nailed it. I think they nailed this week. Super excited for next week and the rest of this season. Couple more episodes. We're coming down to the wire, and it's going to be a tough one to let this go. It's going to be a tough one. So hopefully we got some more Star Wars content on the way. You heard me, Disney. Let's get the Book of Boba Fett out sooner rather than later, eh? Thank you all for joining me once again here with another Bad Batch reaction on the Canon Collector channel. If you've liked this video and you want to see more of these reactions to the Bad Batch and all of the new Star Wars content that's going to be coming out over the next... How many more years have they released their slate? Make sure to like this video. That lets me know that you want to see more reactions. And if you want to stay up to date on everything that we're doing with all of these new reactions and reviews, make sure to click that subscribe button as well and subscribe to the Canon Collector YouTube channel. We got tons of reactions, reviews, plot summaries, video game content, Legos, pop figures, anything we can think of, anything that's interesting us at the moment, we're going to be covering. So make sure to stay tuned for all of the fun stuff that we have planned. As well, you can keep up with us on other social media platforms such as TikTok and Instagram at The Canon Collector and Canon Collector. We hope to see you guys back here next week for our next reaction to The Bad Batch. What is the next one? Episode 12? Is it episode 12? We'll see you here for the next Bad Batch episode when hopefully we get some more fun Ryloth stuff, as well as probably a little more of the Bad Batch. But we'll see. As always, guys, may the spires keep you, and may the Force be with you. See ya!